It happened on a rainy Tuesday afternoon, one of those long gray days where your coffee goes cold too fast and everything feels a step behind. I was driving home from work, same road I'd taken every day for the past 11 years. Slow traffic, windshield wipers squeaking, phone on silent, hands at 10 and 2. I wasn't in a rush. The intersection near 42nd and Mill had been under construction for weeks. One of the traffic lights was partially covered by a dangling tarp, and there were cones everywhere. As I passed through a green light, the one I'd waited patiently for, a black SUV tore through the red from the left. It slammed full speed into the side of a silver sedan coming from the opposite lane. I hit the brakes hard. My tires screeched, heart pounding. Without thinking, I jumped out and ran toward the wreck. The SUV had barely a dent, but the sedan, the front was crushed. Inside was a young woman, mid-20s maybe, bleeding, crying, conscious. I called 911, stayed with her, tried to keep her calm. A few other people had stopped, but most drove by. The paramedics came, police too. I gave my full statement, assuming that would be the end of it. It wasn't. 2 weeks later, I got a notice. I was being sued, not as a witness, but as a defendant. The claim? That I had caused the accident by illegally entering the intersection and creating a hazard. I was stunned. I hadn't even touched another vehicle. I wasn't speeding. I had the green light. There were traffic cameras there, or so I thought. But it got worse. Turns out the man driving the black SUV was the son of a local businessman. Big name in the area. Owned half the commercial buildings in our district. His lawyers claimed the light was yellow and that I had entered from an angle that confused traffic flow. They had two witnesses, both employees of one of his businesses, who backed up that version. And then came the real punch. The traffic camera had been temporarily disabled due to the ongoing construction. No video, no hard proof, just my word, against theirs. I hired a lawyer, a good one, at least as good as I could afford. We gathered photos, diagrams, the original 911 transcript. Even had a mechanic testify that my car showed no impact. But in court, it felt like I wasn't speaking English. The judge dismissed half our evidence for lack of relevance. Objections were ignored. My lawyer whispered to me during recess, "This smells political." 3 weeks later, I lost. The settlement wiped out my savings. My insurance skyrocketed. And the worst part? The woman in the silver sedan, the actual victim, never got justice either. She had her own case, and from what I heard, it quietly disappeared. Probably a settlement. Probably hush money. For months I was angry. No, furious. I went to sleep rehearsing speeches in my head. The things I should have said to the judge, to their smug lawyers, to the man who didn't even look at me once during the trial. But anger is exhausting, and it doesn't change the past. So eventually I started asking different questions. Not why did this happen to me, but what can I still control? I started volunteering at a local legal aid clinic. Once a week I sit with people who can't afford lawyers, people like me, and help them understand the system before it eats them alive. Because here's the truth they don't teach you. Justice isn't automatic. It's not pure, and it's not blind. It favors those with time, power, and money. But that doesn't mean we give up. I don't tell this story because I want sympathy. I tell it because someone out there thinks they're crazy for feeling like the system is rigged. You're not crazy. Sometimes it is. But you're not powerless either. What they took from me financially, they couldn't take morally. And that's the line I draw. They may win cases, but they won't change who I am or how I show up for others. That's the long game. That's the part of justice they can't buy.